If you crack first, Dave, it won't make you any less of a man.
I'm nowhere near cracking.
Neither am I, my friend.
Dave. And oh, Matthew, what is it now? For God's sake, no one's smoking, okay? But nothing! You know what we need around here is an anti-whining ordinance. So just sip your sniveling little lip and all your skinny ass out of.
So not that long ago, we know Chip Zdarsky pitched this life story idea to Marvel Comics, and it was essentially going to be Marvel Comics life story, where it was going to tell the Marvel Comics timeline as the characters age with the years. Marvel came back and said that idea is a little bit too big. Let's scale it down. Let's do Spider-Man life story. And obviously he did that with Mark Bagley. It ended up being a very big success. I personally enjoyed it quite a bit. I think it maybe didn't end as quite as great as it did, but on its own, I think it was a very good story. And we wondered, will we be seeing more life story projects in the future? It turns out it is true. We are getting a Fantastic Four life story, but not the creator I think we all anticipated. Now, here with me to talk about that is my good friend El Percherino himself, the Poobah of Comics. Perch, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Now, I don't think you were a fan of Life Story, maybe not quite as big a fan as I was, but I was anticipating, what else could they do with Life Story? Fantastic Four is a natural fit, but it feels like it would have been a more natural fit with Chip Zdarsky. He had already worked with the Marvel 2-in-1. A lot of people were excited to see him maybe be the Fantastic Four writer. Obviously, that did not come to pass. Did he get passed over here? Or do you think Chip's just so busy that he didn't have time to do this?
I think Chip's busy. I think Chip's more expensive, bluntly. I think both those factors probably play in here. It is a shame because I think Chip Zdarsky has a really good handle on the Fantastic Four. I think he can make this work. I mean, I wish Marvel had gone with the original idea. I do think there's always this case where Marvel gets one thing that works and they just drive it into the ground and they don't really fully understand why it worked. And I think that's indicative of the fact that you're bringing Mark Russell in here. I get why that pick. He's done these kind of throwback issues for DC. I think that's kind of what they want to play into. But the reason why Life Story worked so well is that it really kind of dove into the emotional core of the character. It was a very emotional comic in that regard. It was a deep comic. It wasn't using kind of cheap comedy of the time. I mean, in fact, if you look at the series, you didn't get these kind of cheap gags around, oh, we're in the 70s now, look how wacky it is. You didn't get any of that. You got a core story. I have to believe Mark Russell will do a lot of that because that is kind of his style. And so I'm happy to see the concept, I guess, play out. I really do think that I just wish they would not continue to go back to the well over and over on things to the point where everybody gets sick of the concept. Hopefully that doesn't happen here.
I do predict, Life Story, if they keep going, will be the next old man concept that eventually you're kind of tired of it. You're like, oh, sweet, old man Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. But, talking about the creator, Mark Russell, one of the things Chip Zdarsky did so well with Spider-Man Life Story was not just telling these unique, big stories within the times that they happen and as a character age. He definitely melded in the events of the times and the way that they were affecting Peter Parker and those around him. And I thought it was very effective. The interesting thing about Mark Russell is he's kind of a political satirist.
Right.
I know that's, maybe why people enjoyed his Flintstones and his Snaggletooth and stuff like that. It doesn't, I don't think most people are going to be reading Fantastic Four Life Story to know his thoughts on those moments. They want to see how those moments are affecting the characters, not Mark Russell's personal opinions on them. And I think we're probably very much more likely to get that than what made Spider-Man Life Story great.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. And I'm not the biggest Mark Russell fan, but I mean, he's certainly put out some work that I've enjoyed. I know some people are, so it's not necessarily a knock around him. He has a style. It's just that style that he brings, just like you mentioned, it's not the same as what made Spider-Man Life Story great. It's a different thing, a different product he brings to the table. And so that doesn't mean that he can't make it work here and make it a good product, maybe. But I have a lot less confidence. And again, I think Chip Zdarsky with the 2-in-1 did a great set of Fantastic Four stories. I think he gets those characters. He gets kind of the emotional resonance between them. That's what I would have liked to have seen. And I think So it was a roller coaster of emotions yesterday with like, oh, we're getting a Fantastic Four book that's not Dan Slott. It's like, oh, okay, what will they do? And then oh, it's Mark Russell, and it's going to be set through time. That was kind of a downer, but
So the artist on the book, certainly not Mark Bagley level as far as associated with Spider-Man, but we do have, I think it's Sean Izaakse.
Mhm.
The art looks fine. It looks like it's going to be a well-illustrated comic book. We'll see if he can keep up with the deadlines and everything. I imagine a good portion of this is already kind of in the can and ready for production. Is there anything or any moments or specific time periods that you think are going to be maybe more difficult, or you're just really excited to see as far as how they execute it for this Fantastic Four life story? There's such an enormous history for the first family of Marvel Comics.
yeah, there is. I mean, what's interesting about that is Spider-Man, and I was talking with somebody else about this yesterday, so it's his point, not mine, but Spider-Man has some definite eras in the comic of kind of big moments that have happened. And the Fantastic Four are not quite the same. There's a lot of filler in the 70s and there's a lot of filler in the 90s for that comic. Your big iconic runs, your Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, kind of later your John Byrne work. You have more gaps. So that could be a good thing. It could be an opportunity to fill in those gaps and do something interesting with the story. I think that could be good. Or it could wind up being, I don't know, a lot of kind of treading water. I want to say, I think one thing that Mark Bagley did really, really well that he didn't get credit for is he changed his art style slightly through the comics to reflect the time period. And it was not just him, the colorist, I think, helped with this, but there was it was very authentic in terms of what they were doing, and stylistically it changed. I haven't seen enough of the new artist to really kind of weigh in on that, but the preview pages they showed, the art looked like it could be just current day comics. It was the same with the coloring and the art. It just looked like kind of your normal comic on the shelf. And it's way too early. It's just not a fair judgment call at all until we've seen the book. But I hope that they can maintain that, because I was one of the kind of unsung heroes of the first book of the first life story, is that they did a good job of this. And it doesn't appear from the preview pages they're going to be following suit there.
Now, me personally, a couple of challenges I see happening is with the 2010s, you essentially have a dead decade.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was maybe some Jonathan Hickman stuff in there, but they weren't really producing a Fantastic Four comic until the very end, and that was Dan Slott. Certainly nothing that would be considered classic. So I do think he's got his work cut out for him there. And also, I think the issue of Franklin Richards, he's never really aged. They keep de-aging the character. So I think it'll be interesting, how he handles the children as they get older. Obviously, the reason they keep doing that to Franklin Richards is the implication of what he would become if he ever became too old. Like, he would be omnipotent.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, the 2010s, if you're following the comic storyline, although there's no real indication that they necessarily will, I think that they, the Hickman work, I think, some kind of resolution to Doom. It feels like that's something that they're going to want to do around, Doom and Reed kind of resolving the core of that relationship, that battle. But it'll be interesting to see what they pull from the comic and how many of those kind of beats they want to do. I mean, they're going to hit Galactus and Silver Surfer for sure. They're going to hit Dr. Doom. It'll be interesting to see what they pull from. But the Fantastic Four does have some gaps, so it's going to require a little bit more mention. Not to sound like a broken record, that would have been all the more reason to pull Chip Zdarsky into this.
I agree with you. I was disappointed. Not the biggest Mark Russell fan, and but I think his style works on certain genre of books. I don't think this is going to be, hey, he could change his stripes and do something completely different and really honor the character. Also, it feels kind of weird that they did that Fantastic Four Grand Design book so recently. It almost feels like a similar concept, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's a clear strategy of what's going on with the Fantastic Four right now. I mean, the mini series have come out. They had that one shot, that Cronenberg type, where there's some body horror stuff going on, and it kind of just floated out there somewhat randomly. It feels like there's a a group editor is somebody who badly needs to come in and take hold of what's going on with Fantastic Four and give them a direction, because right now the books are kind of all over the place, and I think they're leaving money on the table all over the place right now.
Absolutely. Well, Perch, I do want to say thank you very much for joining me today, talking about Fantastic Four Life Story. We imagined we were going to get a sequel to Life Story from the Spider-Man story. Not exactly what I expected, but we shall see. You know, you don't know until the comic book comes out. I'll definitely be checking it out because I was so intrigued, and I did enjoy the original concept. Do you have anything else that you wanted to say before we wrap this up?
No, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I will definitely judge it when it comes out, and I'm hoping for a great book. Always hoping for a great book.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, my friend, and I'll see you later.
See you later.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.